Ladies and gentlemen, very good morning. Welcome to Ideas Digital SME online discussion. The topic for today's discussion is on building SME digital resilience. What have we learned from the MCO? This research work and this online discussion is supported by Friedrich Neumann Foundation, FNF. And joining us today, we have a very good lineup of speakers. We have Dr. Avari Mohan, Associate Professor of Strategy and Innovation and Director of Research from the Nottingham University Business School. And we have our local SME champions. We have, first of all, Mr. Chin Ren Yi, co-founder and creative director of My Burger Lab. Ren Yi is also an alumnus of the University of Nottingham, Malaysia campus. We have also joining us Mandy Leong, co-founder and managing director from Crescent Malaysia, a cosmetic company. I'll let Mandy to say more about her products. We also have Professor Anthony Wong, founder and managing director of the Frangipani Langkawi Resort and Spa. We all know that tourism sector is one of the worst hit sectors in this COVID pandemic. And Prof. Anthony has a lot to share on how we can pivot and consider a different economic activities. And lastly, we have Mr. Gary Gunn, co-founder and managing director of Hexa Food, a local food manufacturer specializing in spices, herbs, and if I understood it correctly, I think Hexa Food is now exporting to 8 different countries, mostly in the ASEAN region. So without further ado, I just want to kickstart by sharing the slides that I've prepared. But before that, let me just quickly say that I will speak for maybe 10 minutes just to kickstart the session and to motivate the discussion. And then each speaker will have, say, 10 minutes to respond or to share his or her experience, how they survive and pivot during the MCO period. Then we will go into the Q&A session. So fellow audience, please feel free to put up your questions in the Q&A box. You can start doing that already, and I will try to pick up the questions and direct them to the speakers. We will try to end this session at 12 p.m. later today. Okay, so let's just get started. Let me share the screen. All right. Okay, so you guys see the screen well? Okay, so building SME digital resilience. What have we learned from the MCO? So before we began researching about SME, we've heard a lot about SME. The first lockdown happened in March, and not too long after that, we have the first economic stimulus package, the second economic stimulus package, and we have 4 of them. And there's a lot of talks about how the government should help SMEs. A lot of focus will be on the most impacted ones, say tourism and airline, and also after that, other SMEs. We've seen a lot of cash financial assistance sort of help from the government. But then we ask ourselves also, okay, there is a short-term shock in the economy and SMEs all have to try to adapt. But what is the more sustainable mid to long-term solutions? Is digital an answer? Is digitalization the key to building resilience, not just for today, but also for future crises? And what have we actually learned from the MCO? So this research activity is really for us to understand your views, your challenges, and your experience during the MCO period. Quick note about IDEAS. IDEAS is the Institute for Democracy and Economic Affairs. We are a think tank which focuses on promoting market-based solutions to public policy challenges. So in a way, we acknowledge that there's a need for stopgap measures to help address business costs, protecting incomes and jobs. But in the long run, we should be able to have a market-based solution, and there is a role for government to play in terms of policy making. And we operate based on the principles of rule of law, limited government, creating a competitive markets, and also free individuals. What we do to achieve this mission is to have evidence-based research, the one that we are doing, publication of reports, engaging with public sector stakeholder, the government, the Economic Planning Unit, Central Bank of Malaysia, and also with the media. Okay, so can businesses catch up with the digitalization needs? We have heard so much about how digitalization is key to SME survival in this period. Pandemic affects everyone, but some are more impacted than others. Some people, some SMEs in some industries, they can adapt faster than others. So no two SMEs are the same. And we know that SMEs it still remains the biggest employer, and SMEs make up 98% of the businesses in this country. So in order to understand SMEs, I feel like we have to have a multifaceted way. There's no one way to try to understand SME. They're so different sizes, different industries, different activities. So if government were to implement a policy to help SMEs, it has to be reflective of that kind of complexity. According to Malaysian Retail Association, some 61% of retail outlets were found to have closed down. So this is specific to retail outlets. This is obviously not a result of falling consumption or falling purchasing of power only. It's pretty much a man-made decision, the policy decision to lock down, first of all, because we want to try to flatten the COVID curve. So that introduced a lot of shock to our retailers. And because of that, how can they pivot through digital means seems to be the discussion. And maybe for those who can't do that effective, they might have to close down. Maybe they also close down for reasons that is different from this. So this is where we have to maybe discuss with a magnifier in our hands. Businesses understood the need to digitalize, but what's been stopping them? I don't think it's a case where businesses do not accept the need to digitalize. We have all seen reports, white paper, intelligence reports, asking SMEs and businesses to digitalize. But if you speak to SMEs, and of course we have a lot of SMEs owners here, they can also respond to this later on. Sometimes they do not know how to do it, to put that in operations, so that things continue to move on. They sometimes have to incur a lot of costs to do this, but unsure of the kind of return, at least in the short term. So there's a lot more than just trying to push the message hard that SMEs, you need to digitalize. There's a lot of nuance that is not captured. And this is where we are very interested in trying to understand. Because I feel like if we do not have this bottom-up view, we will not be able to really bridge the gap between theory and practice. According to a survey by the Asia Pacific SME Digital Maturity Studies, 21% of the SME surveyed say that there is a shortage of digitally skilled talent. So maybe this could be one of the obstacles for businesses to digitalize. They do not have enough people who can, say, do business analytics, data science, or even to do digital marketing. And how do you handle the different databases? 60% say that there is a lack of budget or commitment. And this is understandably so, because during MCO, you are worried about whether or not you can pay your employees at the end of the month. And to invest in a long-term strategy might not be on top of your priority list. And there's also 12% saying that they do not know how does A lead to B and B leads to C, and how does it lead to the eventual goal? There is a lack of a roadmap, so to speak, to guide the process of digitalization. So how can SME build resilience? Dr. Avery Mohan and I co-authored this paper, which we published last Thursday, just trying to glean insights and experiences for MCO. This paper is available on our website. To come up with this paper, we throw away theories. We do not want to come in thinking that we have all the answers. We go down to the ground, trying to understand what SMEs are saying. Then we have a bottom-up interpretation. We organize roundtable meetings, speaking to various stakeholders. We put together different government agencies together, and they are very happy because government agencies told us that thanks for putting us people from different agencies under the same roof, because there is also an issue of policy coordination between different agencies and different ministries. So I thought those are very good sessions, but we couldn't do that after because of the second round of lockdown in a way. But we continue to have meetings and interviews done through Zoom and speaking to different SMEs. We will continue to do that. And we have gone on to the media to highlight the importance of investing and in upskilling and training, especially the younger members of the society, the young people. We have tried to do a bit of media advocacy activities in that sense. Okay, I will quickly go through some key success factors that we managed to glean from the studies, just three. The first one is that we realized SMEs who can pivot during this time, they build community around the business. Maybe they have already started doing that even before MCO. So one example would be Grab's Local Heroes program. And they've done so on both online and offline platform. There is a lot of interaction, a lot of stories, a lot of updates with consumers and fans of that company to continue to put meaning into their business. And that seems to be one of the reasons or one of the key differentiating factors compared to other brands who have not made this kind of storytelling or this kind of narratives out in the public. Undertaking product and process innovation. Consumer trends have changed. Consumer behavior has changed. People no longer feel as safe having their meals in a restaurant, for example. Even if they still dine in, they may not spend as much time compared to in the past. The things that they order might not be might be different. I've heard from one of the restaurateurs. They said people stop, or rather people has ordered less and less, say appetizers or desserts. Usually that's where the margin can be quite high because people just want to go in, have their food taken and then go out. So the consumer experience has changed, and how can SMEs adapt to that? The next, the picture on the right is a cosmetic outlet, retail. Do we still spend our time testing those products before we purchase? Because of COVID, the risk of infection, you do not want to put those testers on the body. So how if you were in that sort of retail where testing is a key method to get people to buy your product, you have to rethink and you have to be able to adapt. And the last factor that I want to highlight is on digital natives. People who were born with internet already. I mean, I'm not definitely in the digital native age group. I learned to use internet when I was in my primary school, 1515 stream mix. You all remember that. I can't imagine the world without internet, you know. But now, obviously, you can't do that. But a lot of people who were born with internet already, they are digital natives, and it's second nature to them. And these people, they have a lot to share and offer for SMEs if they want to be able to build a community business online. They want to be able to have digital marketing and analytics. How do you play around with social media? Can your staff use TikTok to help you promote your business? So it seems to have, they seem to have a lot to offer, but we keep hearing SMEs saying, oh, they do not want to hire young people. Look at the job advertisement. they always say you need to have 2 years of experience. But if you're a fresh graduate, how do you have 2 years of working experience? And some SMEs, they were more willing to pay, say, a premium to hire someone with experience rather than giving opportunity to young people. And youth unemployment is high. It went up to 10.5% at one point last year. And there's also the issue of underemployment. Yes, they found a job, they get paid, but it's not commensurate to the kind of qualification that they have. We're talking about people with engineering degree that could be flipping burgers elsewhere, or serving as a shopkeeper, that kind of thing. What does this mean to the country's competitiveness and productivity 5 years down the road? If you want to transition from a mid-income country to a high-income country, but your youth labor force doesn't have the kind of exposure and experience, what does it mean to the future of this country's economic growth? Okay, so is this a time for a business model shakeup? Okay, I should really speed things up because I want my SMEs owners to give their stories. We have given some recommendations in the report. So first of all, we say that the government should focus on supporting capacity building rather than acting as a training provider. We realize that some SMEs do not feel that it's uniquely tailored to their needs and wants. Maybe this should be left to startups or private sector players to do it. Maybe they have more on the ground insights. How useful it is for pure offline SMEs to kickstart their digitalization through super apps. But there is a cost to engaging super apps. But is this a cost worth paying for SMEs to at least kickstart with the process? The government should also promote SME and academic partnership or research partnership, to put it more general, because what we want is to have SMEs be able to create new products or innovate in terms of product and processes, so that they can find new sources of competitiveness and not just in the trading side of things. Ultimately, you have to be different from your next competitor, not just locally, but also regionally. And finally, on financing matters, digitalization is not cheap. We have heard SMEs saying over and over again, whatever funds that is available in the commercial banking sector doesn't work for them. They don't have that kind of requirements. They can't meet the kind of capital requirements. Is there a role to strengthen alternative financing? We have seen the growth of peer-to-peer financing in recent years. How can we empower this alternative financing ecosystem so that the right products can be catered for the unique needs of the SMEs? So, all right, we'll go straight to the discussion. So we have covered quite a lot of digitalization challenges and our recommendation as well. I will go straight to Ren Yi, who will be sharing My Burger Lab's experience in their efforts to pivot during these difficult times. Ren Yi?
Thanks, Lau. Hi. So I think over the last 8 months, everyone have kind of gone through the same issues in regards to the SOP that has been dished out by the government. I think that's the same level playing field that we see. But of course, it really depends on what I usually refer to, which is business fundamentals. I realized that a lot of businesses that unfortunately did not have strong business fundamentals to begin with are the fastest to take a hit and take a dive. So when it comes to digitization of our industry, F&B industry, so I sell burgers, and Lau, you made a reference just now. I happen to be an ex-mechanical engineer graduate, and I did end up flipping burgers before MCO. It's not too bad of a trade, actually. But the point here is that thankfully, one of my partner, Wikiet, who also is an alumni of Nottingham, he was an advocate for digitization 3-4 years ago before I took over the business. So we had the groundworks. So in fact, when MCO came, and at that time when MCO was announced, we didn't know whether we would be able to open or not. It was until the day itself, or the day before MCO, I think the 17th of March, that it was said F&B are allowed to stay open. However, there's no dine-in. You can do takeaway or delivery. So very thankfully, we have been on GrabFood for almost a year and a half, and they have been great partners to us. And so that transition wasn't hard. In fact, it was just turning it on and then making sure that we let our customers know, hey, we are still available on GrabFood. However, as you mentioned, when you hop onto um, super apps like GrabFood or FoodPanda and the likes, there is a percentage charge that they will impart onto your product. So I'll make it very generalized here. Most of the time, it is a 30% charge, meaning that if you have a product that is 10 ringgit that you sell to your customer, and if any of these delivery partners send it to the customers, they will take 3 ringgit from your 10 ringgit. So your margin is just cut off like that. Um, Now, because we've been in business with them for almost a year and a half, we know that our pricing has been adjusted to cushion that, right? But at the same time, we also know that when we transition to 100% delivery, our margins become so much slimmer because prior to that, usually for a restaurant, you would have about 80% of your customer walking into your store and then 20% of them taking delivery. So when people walk into our store, we obviously make more profit. So during MCO, when everything shifted to delivery, we said, no, this is not going to work it. This is not going to cut it. We need to get people to come to our store and order. But at the same time, we don't want people to be exposed to COVID. So we said, let's develop a website that allows for people to pre-order ahead of time. And then they just pop up and show up at the right time and collect their food. So instead of coming to the store, spending a good 15, 20 minutes to their food, they can be in and out within 2 minutes. But their website, thankfully, we built about a year and a half ago. So a year and a half ago, we said, look, we want people to take away, but sometimes when they come to the store, they wait, and then they sit in the table, they take up space. So can we have a system that allows them to, again, pre-order ahead of time, come in and out? But 1.5 years ago, people had no interest in that. They absolutely had no interest, no matter how we marketed it. So we shelved it. But when MCO came, we were able to, take it off the shelf, dust it off, and then, revamped it a little bit. And in 2 days, 2 days and a half, we were able to put up the website and say, hey, if you really want to support us, come order takeaway, so that we can have a better margin. We were very transparent about that. So that was one of the things that helped a lot when we started. Then, of course, we also have our own app. And this is about 2.5 years ago when we decided to develop our own app. A lot of people kind of nagged me about it because they said, look, having an app of your own is nice, but it's dated. People have tried and tested, and a lot of users don't want an extra app on their phone. But we stuck with it because we believe that we wanted to understand our customer, we wanted to have their data, we could better market to them. So that has become very, very useful at this point. As you guys might notice, in the last 3 months, a lot of people have hopped onto Facebook marketing. If you thought that before MCO was bad, now it's much worse, right? Every time you scroll your newsfeed, every 2-3 posts, it's a sponsored post. But it's necessary because everyone wants to be in front of the public's eyeballs. And posting or targeting ads is a skill. You also require information for that skill to be honed. So having our customer data, and this is something that's a little bit scary. I'm sure a lot of you understand this, and the public might not. But when you have someone's email or phone number, you can actually create an Excel sheet that allows you to put on Facebook and say, hey, look, these are the people that are my audience. Can you find a similar audience? And Facebook and over the process of a few rounds of filtering and funneling, you can target very specific group of people. So if I have a chicken burger launching, I can spend, let's say, 1,000 ringgit targeting chicken eaters only. Prior to that, without the information of our customers, knowing who only orders chicken, who only orders beef, when I boost it's like a shotgun. You can hit anyone, but when it is so target, it's like sniper sharp. So I can say, hey, I've got a new beef product. Um, I've got a new beef product. I want to only know of it. You can do that. And that's what the app has done for us so far. So I'll keep it short, but these are the two big digitization that we had in place before that really helped in this current times.
Well, I mean, thanks a lot for sharing, Jenny. I think we have a bit more time for you. So, I mean, you mentioned that you have already set up the proprietary online store 2.5 years ago before MCO, but not many people had the kind of, you know, had the kind of experience or the kind of things done before MCO. If they only do it now, I think it's a bit too late. I'm not sure. So, I mean, what do you think about this, Renee?
Well, I think the soonest to start was yesterday, right? If you haven't done it, right, then the soonest is today. I don't think there's something as, you're late in the game. The moment you say that, you've basically given up. I think that process needs to start. The question is, and you brought it up as well, I've spoken to a lot of F&B players who are either new or have been stuck in their old ways for a very long time, are now struggling. And they're not struggling because there's no tools to do it. They're struggling because there's a fear. And there's also too much choices. Over the last few months, some of the businesses that have survived are actually consultants, digital consultants, and they're popping up everywhere telling people, hey, I can help you solve this problem, I can help you do this. And I can assure you, prior to MCO, there are already a lot of these businesses around, and they offer a lot of solutions, but not all of them are great. And not all of them know what they're doing. And right now, unfortunately, that pool just got bigger. I hope I don't offend anyone here, but that is the case in the market. And as a small business player, and you get like all these 10 different businesses coming to you and say, hey, you should use our service, we can help you do this, we can help you do that. They get confused. They get, it's just like, when you get so much information, you just shut down. And a lot of times they don't know who to go for. And it's not cheap. Unfortunately, it's not cheap. So that's one of the struggle. But where we can, we try to advise, we try to recommend them to the right channels that has proven useful to us. But even so, I mean, we can't help everybody, and we're not in a position to reach out to other people. But if people reach out to us, we definitely try to recommend. Then the other part is, as I mentioned, when let's say the simplest way to digitize your business right now is to go on Foodpanda or GrabFood, because they have the platform ready. You just need to list your items there, and then hopefully someone buys your product. But the struggle here is on two things. Number one is the costing. As I mentioned before, there is a price that comes with it. Some products are just not meant to be charged another 30% on top of it, right? And then the other problem is when you list doesn't mean that people will buy your food or buy your product, because I think, and GrabFood has not announced this, we are only on GrabFood, so we know their information a little bit better. Prior to MCO, they boasted that they have about 10,000 businesses on there. I assure you that it's at least 3 times or 4 times more in terms of businesses that's on their platform right now. So in fact, they have so many merchants that some lesser merchants do not get the attention that they need. I don't know if you know or not, yesterday there was a tweet on Twitter that went trending. So this young lady posted on Twitter saying, hey, my parents' business need help. They sell ikan bakar. But because of what has happened in the last few months, they were not able to make ends meet, and ask people to, hey, just help retweet whatever help they can get, is useful. And people ask, hey, why don't you go on GrabFood or Foodpanda? And they say, oh, we have actually registered to be on Foodpanda. However, no one buys. The problem is there's so many other big businesses around, and we humans are unfortunately, we have a certain pattern. When we're on delivery apps, we only buy from brands that we are familiar with. We all know this, right? And smaller brands just don't stand a chance. If you're a new brand, it's so hard to stand out on that platform. In fact, the algorithm also generally pushes more popular brands to be on top. It's the first 10 to 15 brands you will see. There is an algorithm that is behind it. And that is a disadvantage to smaller businesses because Grab or Foodpanda, they are designed to make money. Of course, they're going to put their top sellers on top. They might deny this, I don't know, but as a user, I always see the same few brands on top. Right? Even though I know down the street there's a restaurant that's near me, but they're not listed at the very top. So these are the few things that I think is a big challenge to the newcomers. But again, they got to start somewhere. They got to start somewhere because if this is not going to end, not in the near future anyway. My projection is that we're going to go around in this roundabout for the next 1 year, but life has to go on, and life has to find a way to survive, right? And we need to fight. So the first step you take into digitizing your business is the first step you're saving your business. That's how I feel about how things are.
Well, I mean, that's very helpful, Renee. I think what I was trying to get at just now was, if you have your store now, you obviously need to get traffic in to your store. So that lead time might be, quite some time, half a year at least. And at the same time, you also mentioned that super apps is a quick way for you to get started. But at the same time, there's a cost to it. And because of the way the algorithm works, the new entry sometimes might not be able to garner the kind of attention as some of the bigger brands might have. So it seems like there's still a lot of work needs to be done for SMEs to digitalize. We will move on to Mandy. Mandy is the co-founder and managing director of Crescent, a local cosmetic outlet. Mandy, how has your consumers or customers changed in terms of their purchasing behavior, and how do you pivot to adapt to this new normal?
Okay, so I think I will focus on one topic to be discussed here is that what are the factors that enable the SMEs to survive COVID-19, right? Actually, for me, when the COVID came in, I mean, the news just came in, and then the first thought came in my mind is that I think the consumers' behavior will be changed. That's for sure. And secondly, the purchasing powers might be reduced for some of the sectors of the product. So I decided to I really have to make changes for this. So first of all is that I went to my factory and talked to them. I said, do you have any sanitizing products can cure these things or prevent or anything like just give me lah. Then they said, yeah, we make hand sanitizers. So I said, okay. So for the first place, we decided to launch our hand sanitizers. And when MCO is announced, so we quickly applied to MITI saying that we are the distributor of hand sanitizers. So during the whole MCO period of time, we are still operate as usual. Actually we are beauty, we also call it like beauty products traders, right? But we are also hand sanitizers traders. So that's why we are allowed to operate. Yeah, I think that's the first move that I think I have done pretty well is that at least I can secure all of my stuff, the rice bowl. And secondly is that we managed to make some good margin and also to cover the revenue loss from the cosmetics business for the first few months because of the hand sanitizers. Following that, when MCO is really implemented, right, a lot of my friends told me that they actually call that landlord saying that can ask for reduce the rent or all these things or not. So, but for me, my first thing is that I will call all my banks to do the restructure for the loans and all those things, because I have to make sure all my cash flow must be positive lah. Because I think for SME to survive during this pandemic, right, it's very, very important that we can have positive cash flow. At least your balance in the bank must keep your runway at least 6 months, I think. So this is very important if we manage to cut out our cash flow outflow every month. So I think these are key factors that we can survive during this pandemic. And so after I have done the restructuring for the loans, and also I need to think of how to diversify the risk, and also how we actually can make things really adapt to the new normals, and what are the consumers' behavior change that we can still sell them things lah. Okay, basically. So we realized that is that everyone started to wear the mask and they started to shop at home. So we managed to change two things at the same time actually. So we diversify our products. First thing first is that because last time we very much focused on color cosmetics. So for a lot of guys don't know lah, color cosmetics means the products that got colors lah. So like cosmetics, lipsticks and foundations, all those things. So for us, we like quickly divert into skincares. So which are the facial cleansers that you use daily, and those skincares that you must use. So no matter your like your salary cut lah, you're wearing your face mask lah, although you're staying at home diam-diam duduk rumah, you also must use skincare. So we actually pivot our products to more essential items instead of focus on the color cosmetics. And secondly is that we actually diversify our revenue channels as well. So because of a lot of people, like they are very scared to shop in the shopping malls, and also don't even say that the high street stores, they are also like I can say that it's about 50 to 60% our sales dropped drastically during the pandemic. So for offline business wise, we actually focus on mass distributions to pharmacy channels and also some hypermarkets channels, and also some independent pharmacies as well. So we can see that the offline markets are badly impacted. So we are actually quite lucky is that we managed to stock up some personal cares products before the lockdown implemented. So we actually supply these products to some TV home shopping channels, because a lot of people, they actually duduk diam-diam and watch TV So watch TV and you have nothing to do, nothing to shop, nothing to go travel, right? So you will duduk diam-diam and buy things there. So actually our TV home shopping sales are very good. So it actually managed to cover the losses that we have lost in the offline markets. Yeah, and besides that, I think for online marketplaces, right? Like what just now Rennie has shared is that because for F&B, like it's a must, you must be on the Food Panda and also for on GrabFood. But for us, as a beauty brands, right, it's a must for us to be listed on our the online marketplaces like Shopee and Lazada. So this is the crucial part, is that like how people can search you on the first page, and then you are on the first ranking, that so people can see you and then straight away buy your things. I can tell you frankly is that if you throw price like hell, your brand, if your brand is not famous, right, don't even people will buy one. So it's like it's so crucial is that you have to be there, and also you must work really well with your RM so that they can give you some good spaces, and also the good so-called like the stocking sales, all these promotions so that you are there lah, so that people can see you, can access to you. But I think to build a basic so-called like the online business, don't say about the brand awareness first lah, okay? When the first thing first, I think the fundamental must be built is through your supply chain sustainability. So meaning to say is that your stock must be always available. It's not something that people use already, then people used to it already, then suddenly people want to place order, then you got no stock, very jialat one. Because if people like stop to buy your products for a while and they started to change to other brand, they won't come back already. So you will lose your market shares from that. And secondly is that you must do well in your customer service lah. So we like during the MCO, even after the MCO, all my warehouse and supply chain people all must be in the office. No matter like the work from home, all these things, right? Everything will be implemented to my office staff only, but the warehouse and also the supply chain people won't change. So I have to make sure the fulfillment is on time, and all the parcels will be sent like correct, like all the orders must be correct. So this is the basic things that we need to do well in our online marketing things, and also for the online marketplaces. So for basically it's like I think for me, it's not only like you digitalize your business so that you can survive during this pandemic. You have to actually diversify a lot of things. If your industry is some of you may be like selling services or products, right? So you need to pivot a bit to what are the market demand now, and besides that, you also have to pivot your marketing channels as well. It's not only the channels, you have to change your products as well if the market needed so currently for us is that it's a very challenge. What are the plan that we can actually go for next year, because it's very unforeseen things and very very unstable, like the circumstances is very very unstable. So all our buyers, all our key accounts, the person in charge, they all came to us. They said, okay, can you give me your marketing plan for next year? So we want to see what are the things that Crescents can make for us. So for me, is I'm playing very, very conservative plan. So I actually changed a bit the numbers, but I actually put in place all the new product developments that towards the market changes. Yeah, so I have presented to my buyers is saying that you see, like so many people out there are actually they have changed their behavior already. If we still use all our old school plan, you die already, so you cannot survive through that lah. So for them, they want to see one thing. Okay, your Tylo okay, my Tylo is Maybelline okay. So in our industry Maybelline is our Tylo, so it's someone that we cannot beat on But they said, okay, you see your Tylo do this, do that for me you can do this or not? Then I said, oh, okay, let me see what Tylo done Okay, so straight after the MCO, like the Kautim already, I think it's about May or June this year, right? Maybelline has done something. So they has used AI, okay, to let the consumers to access to the website straight away. They can do the product testing on their face. So meaning to say is that you just scan the QR code and then you can snap a photo. Then you can just straight away pick the colors from that, and then for each of SKUs they have. These are the things that are very expensive and very costly for SMEs. I cannot afford that. So I straight away I said, this Tylo done one, I cannot do because it's too costly. So maybe I can do something for you guys. So the first thing first I think of is that, okay, I come out the very old school cardboard, So with all the the color swatch on that, so we actually stick the what it call is like the shelf talker, okay, on our cabinets, so that everyone at least can see the colors, all those. Because you know what, after April, right, all the local councils that actually enforce, all the cosmetic councils must remove our testers. So it actually is a very, very killing part for us, is that because for color cosmetic products, right, you need to like put the testers there to let customers to try. So if remove the tester, meaning to say our sales memang gone case already. So what actually Maybelline has done is that they use AI to to enhance all these things. But for us, we can't really afford to do so. So I said, okay lah, I remove the testers, then I put the cardboard at least So the buyer said, cannot, I'm very not satisfied because people got this, you got this, very, very cannot compare one. So maybe I can think of something. So after that, I have talked to my design and marketing team. We have discussed. So there's one guy, actually he is a fresh grad, and he came up with a very, very good idea to us, is that, okay, maybe we can create a filter on Instagram. Okay, so we can use our color swatch there. So whenever people install your filter there, right, so that they can straight away, they can see the lip colors on their lip already. So I think this is such a good idea and very, very innovative. So after all, I proposed to the buyer. Then the buyer said, oh, okay, since that is free, because as long as consumer no need to pay anything, this one workable already. Because if the thing is in, ask people to download ask people to go and pay the thing people won't buy one okay. So for this case, we actually successfully to convince the buyers to accept this filter, instead of we create a AI apps for them. So I think these are the things that we have innovate during this CMCO. So we actually we want to give other kind of experience to the consumers lah. Yeah. So yeah. Anything? I think that's my sharing.
Well, I mean, thanks a lot, Mandy. I think, I mean, of course, I do not, I'm not your consumer, but my wife is. So I can understand what you're saying there. We want to be able to test the colors before you actually make the purchase, and not having able to do that is really a big downer, so to speak. But then, Mandy, I just want to like ask you this question, right? I mean, I feel like you are very proactive, just like Randy. Before that, I'm sure of our next speakers as well. You already internalized the challenge quite early on. You already think about how to move on. You already think about what is needed to move on. You already think about how the supplier has to be there to help you to move on. And then you look at what the government is doing for you. The government is giving you, say, wage subsidy, is trying to protect income, is trying to protect jobs. How helpful are those assistance? Do you see that? Do you still need that in the next 6 months to next 12 months? And the kind of incentives the government has been giving you to train your people so that they can also be, they have those digital skills. How would you comment or assess the feasibility, the relevance of all these different measures? When I feel like SMEs, entrepreneurs, they can do a lot more in order to pivot. So how would you assess the effectiveness of some of these policies, assistance? Yeah.
Okay, I think for the moratorium that offered by the Bank Negara, it's really helpful. It actually helped us to, I think can say that ease our cash flow burden throughout these few months. And secondly, the wages subsidies, it does help a lot. Because of like, when we actually transitions from offline to online, right? There are some changes for our our workforce in our internal organization chart. What I mean is that, okay, like sometimes it's like for offline markets, right? Sometimes we can just like send the parcels conventionally to one distribution center to our customers. So it actually save a lot of cost, and also no need so many manpowers lah, because we actually already so-called like outsource our the packing things to our partners. But however, when it comes to online, right, a lot of things that we actually done is actually changed from B2B to B2C. So meaning to say is that last time we very focused on selling to business partners, and then they were counting themselves. But now we actually sell direct to consumers. So we need so many people to do the packing job. So so I think for the wages subsidies that the government has implemented, and also give so-called like the incentives to us, right, it actually does help that I can actually hire more jobless people to help us to do the packing job. Yeah. Like so many people came to us saying that they actually got laid off. Most of them, the pay is about 3,000 plus, and they are someone like very, very educated people, but they came to interview my, the store hand job that cost about 1,500. So I feel like, since that the government got, give extra, the wages subsidies, so we are actually willing to hire them at a higher price than a normal store hand. But we will actually tell them also, it's like, this is the extra allowance that we give you for very short terms. But after the wages subsidy is no longer, so we actually will take off the allowance also. Because like you see that is that we are actually hiring the store hand. We don't need such educated people to come and work for us. But however, for this moment of time, we have so many choices. Last time, right, when we want to hire somebody, it's so hard. We have to put out a lot of vacancy, all those things. But now it's like you just put out a banner, a lot of people came already. And I think like what Lau you have just shared about, like what have the government has actually give funds or any they have so many. There are so many organizations that actually incubate and also are built to actually, how to say, is that to accelerate the SMEs business. Yeah, it actually is there to help us. But what I actually realized is that okay, for me, my personal opinion is that when I apply all this the fund and this kind of the assistance from the government, right, there are so many restrictions, especially for us is because we are actually so-called the sales and marketing company. We are not really the manufacturer. So for like one example is that there are some fund that actually assist for the manufacturing, so-called for the develop and also for research for the new ingredients and also all these very innovative active ingredients. But we are not entitled to get that, although we have applied for so many times. But what are the governments that replied to us is that you are not GMP factory certified because you don't have the productions the line. So I think that because of the like so many restrictions and all the terms and conditions that actually restrict us to apply and get access to all this fund, we rather to go for some private assistance. So for me is that for funding wise, I will definitely go for the bank. And besides that, we actually use some P2P funding as well, like just now what you have shared, the peers-to-peers funding, the ECF, all those things. To be frank, okay, as a SMEs owners, I have to tell you all frankly is that because no one here, P2P is so expensive. So if you can have so high margin for like such high margin for your products, right? You can go for the P2P if you can manage to get, get the fund and then you grow your business. After that, you manage to return the money. But if your products or your the industry don't have such high margins for that, right? I think I would rather to actually advise all of you better to go for the banks. So for the banks wise, right, usually how banks see things is that okay, you have transactions with me and you have very good trade record and you must do everything like on your black and white lah, meaning to say is that all the things must be proper, so they can actually lend you money with a very minimal interest charge. So these are the methods that maybe you can still make money from your business. So a lot of like what just now I think Rennie has shared also is that as a brand owner, we are actually so difficult to get the market shares because so many big players out there, and we have no, how can I say this, that we have no space for us lah. I think for my opinions is that usually when you when you start small, right, you really have to multitasking your things and try to do some good trading with high margin. Only you start to innovate your products and build for the brand.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all my sharing.
Well, I mean, thanks a lot for really sharing your personal experience in trying to gain access to this funding as well. I think and that's very enlightening. I want to move on to Gary. I think Prof. Anthony is not available at the moment, so I'll just move on to Gary first. So Gary, you're an exporter, and I think border closures is an issue for you during the MCO, and I'm sure after the MCO as well. What are some of the actions that they've taken since to build resilience for your company, Gary?
Supply chain is very important. I think it's very critical during MCO period. Then I think one of the things is trust. Like if you and your supply didn't have good relationship, then during MCO you can't get face masks and all those supplies. So like for us, like during MCO, our supplier, they still stick by us. They still sell to us face masks at a slightly higher price and all those. So we didn't need to like spend time to look for all these. So trust, but then trust is something that you need years to build on. So it's not like it's like high and then then they will come. Yeah. So that's how we solve our supply chain issue. Is no rocket science, just trust and good relationship.
do you also speed up your digitalization during the period, or you have already digitalized before that, and that is the reason why you can be a bit more resilient than others in this period?
Yeah, the digitalization process is all there. Like everything is cloud based, and we have been using cloud for a long time. I think since late last year. So when the pandemic happens and everyone works from home, in fact, some of us enjoy it more because like Zoom is so nice. Like you do not need to travel 1 hour, 2 hours. Then it's like, oh, now you can. Then some of our staff they can take care of their kids and all those. So yeah, I think a lot of, I think some of them, those that were pretty busy like previously, right? Like during MCO, they actually get to spend more time with the kids. So that's a, but what we have been using is a lot of cloud-based software in terms of the admin side, accounts, Dropbox and G Drive and all those, WhatsApp, etc., etc. So it's like bits of here and there. We don't really use like super expensive software or very complicated. It's, to be honest, it's like everything is like those very basic stuff that you see out there.
Well, I mean, if you can just walk us through again, Gary. I mean, when the first round of MCO was imposed, food manufacturer falls under the essential item. So, do you fall under that item, that category?
Yeah.
And what about your suppliers, who produce stuff for you so that you can sell? How has that disrupted your process, manufacturing process? And like what are some of the insights that you glean from that experience?
All right, during MCO, I think there are a lot of border closed. I think it started from China because we garlic, we import like chilies and garlic from China. So China has border control. Then shipments get delayed. India was just starting to have the MCO meltdown. So same thing as well. I think they had like 2 months or something. So Indian chili starts to be short supply. So from our side, like the first thing is to secure our raw material, because if there's no raw material, then there's no end product. Then everyone is just goyang kaki at the company. So but we acted really, really fast, to be honest. It's like we acted on when Wuhan had the news, right? We acted during Chinese New Year. I think we just acted really fast. We just like prepare, okay, what are the risk management, then what's the worst case scenario that can happen. So we felt like, okay, if worst case that will happen, but unfortunately things get really bad. We during Chinese New Year is everyone's like, oh, we just try to avoid all those Chinese nationals and all those, like, no. But then things got really, really bad. Then but what we did was we just prepare for the worst. But we always prepare for the worst, because when you're running a business, it's like maybe next day your competitor will just come out with something even better than you're out of business. So it's always having that risk mentality.
So in that sense, I mean, you mentioned that, I mean, obviously, people cook a lot more at home, I guess,
Yeah.
when they lock down. So do you see changes in consumer behavior where maybe they buy a lot more from you, I think, because they need your spices, your herbs to do the cooking. And then
our e-commerce store hit 6-digit during,
well, I mean,
during MCO. I think for a lot of people, and I think it's the same with Kawan Food as well. I think there a lot of food manufacturers, like they have like 10 times, or our one is somewhere around 7 to 8 times, but I think some of those they have like a 10 plus times growth. So what we did as well, I think during MCO, like first week, then we launched our cooking contest. It was like a really, really good idea to build community, because like like during the context during that time, is like everyone was at home, then they are learning recipe. So we have like the dalgona coffee first, then so everyone wants to show off their cooking, you see, but they don't have platform to do it, you see, because then it's like it's like showing off and things like that. So which is why we designed this cooking contest so that everyone can just share what's their best. And in fact, like we get a lot of really good content from all those, and I think they have quite a lot of fun.
So in a way, I think there's a huge increase from the consumer side, but then you also have issues with supply. You mentioned this now with India, disruption in India, in China. So do you ever face issues with not enough supply to meet the demand?
To be honest, because we built our whole supply chain connection for years. So like our suppliers are like almost like 10 plus years, and we don't sabotage or we don't lowball our suppliers. So to be honest, like I think we pay market rate, and we don't like we try not to pay less, or we try not to pay like overpaid, because that would be bad. So which is why like our supplier, they do support us. Like we just have we just send a PO, then we just start, okay, we roughly will budget this for the next 3 months. So using our accounting software and cloud, I would say like the number one CTO during this period of time is our cloud. Yeah, our Dropbox and all those, because it just make everything so easy, you see. Like everyone is at home, then they can access all the information. Like there's no really need for a lot of people to go to the office. In fact, myself also stay at home most of the time.
Well, I mean, it's good that you already have that kind of good relationship with suppliers that you build over time and you build on trust. But factory workers are not being allowed to work. I think they were not being allowed to work unless you have a permit. So did that issue affect you during the MCO period?
Because we have been quite active with FMM and MIDA, so we applied. I think we got our one before the server crash. In fact, I think what we always do is we try to act very fast, because like if you're trying to apply on day 2, right, then the server crash already. then you can't get your permit. So we apply like 4 hours from after they announce. So once we have it, then we start to implement the procedure. But I think during that period of time, I think the most critical part is face mask. I think like everyone like having mask shortage and things like that, because when we already have our suppliers that they're able to deliver to us, then we really didn't like spend a lot of this time just trying to source for things and things, because those are very time consuming. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, understood. One major theme that comes out from this crisis is building back better. There's a lot of interest now to promote sustainability, environment, protecting the planet, because we know that climate change from one area could affect the other area. Especially in your case, I think if you have flood in China, in India, whatever it is, they will disrupt your supplies in the short run, at least. So in order for you to build resilience for future, maybe not for now, but for future, what would be some of the measures that you take, and where do you see government come in to help you to build that kind of resilience for future crises?
Oh, this is quite a big topic. I think it's from our side as leaders. I think we need to take that responsibility. And especially like for us, we are at the stage that we are trying to scale up and expand to nearer regions and hopefully globally. So one thing that when it comes to the food industry, there is something called the FFSC and HACCP and ISO. Currently, we are HACCP and ISO 22000 company. So we are heading to the FSSC, and once we are in the FSSC certification, we are able to have a very good supply chain, because there are a lot of measures. So again, it boils down to certs, SOPs, and all those. Like there's no like we'll need to audit our suppliers and make sure that food safety, because when it comes to food, I think the number one priority is food safety. Then other thing comes next. So our challenge is how do we maintain the food safety for the next 10 years, 20 years, and 30 years? Because like pesticide, alpha toxin, they are real challenge. To be honest, like when it comes to the food industry, there are a lot of food safety concern that haven't been really addressed, and people are starting to address like certain pesticide or alpha toxin.
I see. I mean, so I think you have already you have thought about those issues and you are taking actions today.
Yeah, which is why you need to measure your product. You see, like if today you are able to start to like learn about alpha toxin and learn about other potential pathogens and things like that, then when in the future countries most likely they will introduce like very stricter control. Then that's why you are able to so that you are able to still supply to all those countries. Otherwise, they will just like tell you, oh, if you can't fulfill the requirement, then you're out. So you just lose like a whole entire market that way.
Okay, so building resilience by taking into consideration changing trends and prepare yourself for those regulatory challenges. I think that's very key. Okay, I think we have the last SME owner in our list, Professor Anthony Wong. Sorry for keeping you for so long. Now, I'm worried about tourism industry really, and you're at the front line. I mean, you saw the drastic fall in your tourists, in your guests, at your resort and a spa. How did you recover from this, Prof?
Going back history, marketing is important. I used to spend 6 months a year traveling to all the trade show, but with digitalization, you can do, marketing. When we talk about digitalization, it's just not marketing. I mean, now we use OTA, we use Facebook marketing, we use Snapchat, we use YouTube, WhatsApp. Now, the tourism and hospitality are the worst affected. Yeah, I've closed my conference company. We are retrenching our travel company, which I started. Asia Overland is probably one of the biggest travel company in the country. We bring in 40 to 60,000 people a year. I have 130 staff, 30 buses. Now, it'll be a long time. Everybody says 2024 to back to normal. Now, I will talk about the hotel side. I've been in the hotel business since the late 80s, but Frangipani in Langkawi is 15 years old. In anything we do, we have to do the brand building. So brand building, you got to have a goal. We wanted to be the greenest hotel in the world. And to be the greenest hotel in the world, you got to have action, you got to have documentation. I've always worked with academia, for the last 30 years. That's where I teach a number of universities as a adjunct professor, and also regionally from China to India to Australia to New Zealand to Japan, Taiwan. Now, we had to close our hotel. Yeah, we closed it for 7 months, and now we are opening slowly, and we're only marketing the villa. We have 56 villa, because then they are far apart from each other. So you have the social distancing address. Then we have always been growing organic food. Yeah, and we teach people online how to do organic farming, because you have to build a brand. In fact, today, I just came back from the sea. Every morning now, we go to the sea to catch fish. Yeah, so the staff themselves and guests will have fresh fish and organic vegetable. As like all the other speakers, you got to be unique. You got to take the lead. No one does it, you do it. And now 80% of my guests are foreigner, 20% local. We have to cut our price. Now focusing on local market, domestic, we have to cut our price 70%. Now 70% is, the margins are very small. So we are actually now looking at local market. So how do we address local market? Family. So our daily fishing out there presents a fantastic activity for the locals And also the children, they have never seen fishes, live fish, you know. And of course, we have a daily walk. You know, if they request, we take them to the farm behind. They feed the chicken, the ducks, the fishes, and it's all organic. And they say, oh, you can have this. So, but most important, the leaders must, the manager, the GM, the owner involved, go down to the ground. In fact, you know, I've not done this for a long time. I become a worker. I paint, I do gardening, I cut, you know, pruning. You know, my body was aching for 6 weeks. Now I've now done 8 to 10 hours manual work every day. I'm 64, you know, but I do it as exercise. Yeah. But then you realize what are the things that you have to do, even though you use. Now what we do is we have a small team, about 22 people. Everybody has a smartphone. Whatever everybody do is a video, and we take pictures. Everybody is doing their effort. So everybody, from the gardener, from the F&B, from everybody knows what is happening. So they take ownership of, you know, how to keep customer happy and speak to every customer. Yeah, speak to every customer, and we know what are their needs. Okay, now we have got MCO in Langkawi. People cannot come in, but what we are getting is local customer. They say, well, yeah, I can go to your hotel. I take a holiday, you know. So, but it's important. I think many of you say your brand. It's taken us 15 years. People trust. You have to be honest. You got to be fair. You got to build a reputation. People come to it. You know, a lot of them come. Wow, last time I cannot go at your hotel. Now it's so value for money. But what we are also doing is we are upgrading. We are doing renovation to our restaurant. We are renovating our public toilet. We are renovating our swimming pool, because the local market is much more particular. You know, they complain more. You know, I have a lot of water tank. You know, the local say, hey, very ugly, look like kampung lah, because you got water tank. But for the European, wow, sustainability. You know, you're very green. We have developed over 200 ways to save energy, water waste, recycle. So the local market, now we focus on the next 2 years with the local market. How do we keep them happy? Yeah. So you still have to communicate. You talk to every customer. You know, what are you not happy? Why are you, you know, how you get to know us? So they book OTA. Yeah, they book through OTA. They come. Now local customer just drop in. If not digitalization, because you have a cost, you are well known, you got a brand, just drop in. Sometimes they drop in 4-5 rooms, just come in together. You know, I just have a customer here, you know, they just came in, they are local, they say, oh, we're gonna have 14 rooms, you know, local family, we are happy. We call all of them to come for holiday, you know, here. They are local. Yeah. So when you make it affordable, and you give sort of value proposition, yeah, that is value for money. So these are some of the things. In terms of technology, you still have to invest in technology. A hotel without a technology, without dealing with OTA online, you cannot survive today. Yeah, agents are having a difficult time because of the fluidness of the pricing. We price according, you know, we see our neighbor, the 5-star hotel are pricing 3-star rate. We have to go down. We are 4-star. We are not even 4-star now because we have reduced our services. We are not 24 hours front office. We say we are from 7 to 7:30, but if they come late, we are still there. Yeah. You know, we need, you know, we are not running our bar because locals don't really have a lot of drinks. Our main customers are local. So why have the bar when you know, no more 80% foreigner? Yeah. So we have to adapt, and this is very important. As a business owner, as SME, you got to see where your customer are and where are the touch point that you can keep them happy. Yeah. So the minute you get hold of the customer, they are on site, they feel very nice if the owner or the GM speak to them, yeah, and spend that 5-10 minutes showing them what's all about, and they really appreciate this, yeah. So as SME, you must have a clear goal. What do you want to do? How do you want to build your brand? Yeah, but very important, you now, because of pandemic, get and listen to all your staff. Yeah, today my staff say, boss, why don't we go also catch fresh crab? Now we are doing shore fishing. Why don't we hang net out there and catch crabs? I said, fantastic. Go and talk to the fishermen and let them make the net, and we will have a floating net to catch crab. And that is also for the staff and for the guests. You know, Langkawi is well known for seafood. We should offer them seafood, you know, fresh seafood, and work directly with the fishermen. So although we talk about digitalization, any business must still go back to basic. What is your service? Yeah, if you're cosmetic, what makes you different? What's so unusual? What we do is I use the 17 SDG goal and climate change to manage my action. So if you know, you can follow SDG goal as the baseline, you cannot go wrong, because more and more customer, okay, European customer, when you do the SDG goal, they're very happy. But locals are beginning to understand. In fact, our beach is eroding. You know, for 15 years, this year is really serious. We have it 3 feet away, wash out. This year, the waves were very strong. But last year, I already noticed it because my trees were falling into the sea. Yeah, we are having a deeper. Now, I built a gabion. So when a big current comes, they pull out the sand, but the gabion hold back. So we actually maintain, and the shore plants are grown. So, you know, we got no choice. Climate change is there. But what has happened, we've seen people now surfing. Only on our beach, because it's deep, people are doing surfing. So we say, okay, the group of us, I'm at Pantai Tengah. In fact, this afternoon, we get all the hotels together. Let's market. Let's do a 1 year or 15 months marketing plan. You know, you cannot do, but digital. Yeah, let's do something. I say, hey, we can do promote surfing. Lots of people want to learn about surfing. We don't have big surf. It's only 1 meter, 1.5 meter. Big one is in Kuantan. Yeah, but you have to make use of it, and then we market. We have taken video, we put it on YouTube, and we go to the customer. So you need to do marketing. You need to be creative. You need to take the leadership. You cannot work by yourself. You work within your community. So that is required in this, you know, lockdown period. You just cannot sit down and do nothing. You got to do something. Yeah. So in regards to tying with academia, I think it's very, very important, because they are the future leaders, and people come to you because they have heard of you. They respect what you're doing. In fact, some of the customer that come here, a lot of them know of our brand, know of our green sustainability. So I have school, university group, I have government group, I have international groups, architect groups. They all come and stay with us because of our brand, sustainability. So you need to look at what is your brand, what are you projecting, yeah, and also a customer will talk to your staff. You cannot have any bullshit. They will ask the staff, because you cannot speak to all the customer. The customer will speak to the staff. And so it has to be true and true. And staff that have left you will also recommend. I have all staff coming back for holiday because they say, boss, last time your hotel so expensive. Now very cheap. So I come and stay also myself. So, you know, these are some of the things. So it has to be a long-term plan. It has to be a very focused goal. But of course, the way you operate, you have to adjust according to the environment. Yeah, survival of the most adaptable, Darwin theory, not survival of the fittest. Yeah. Okay. Question. Yeah.
I mean, thanks a lot, Prof. I think that is very, very interesting. I've never looked at hotel from that angle, from the operator's angle. That's very interesting. I think you reinforced a few points that we've been talking about. You pointed at community business. You locals' response is so crucial for you. Yes, I mean foreign tourists. During normal times, their input is very important. They pay for sustainability, that kind of thing. But you work with the local suppliers, fishermen. You work with the people in the community, and you create this kind of brand identity. I think that's a very important for SMEs to take note. You take into consideration because of that changing consumer trends. Like locals don't spend as much on the bar. Locals, maybe families, they want to play with their kids, fish together. You adapt to the kind of local needs, and that is also very key. And more importantly, just like Gary just now, incorporating changing trends in future, the need to have sustainability, green sustainability is something that you mentioned quite a lot just now. I think we are a bit short of time, so I'll probably go to Dr. Mohan. We've spoken to a lot of people. You have spoken to a lot of people as well. Would you be able to help us maybe to summarize some points or to structure some of this different input into action points? Action points not just for SMEs, but also for policymakers as well, Dr. Mohan. Not an easy ask, but we shall try, Dr. Mohan. Yeah, you muted, yeah.
Thank you, Lau. First of all, it was a lovely opportunity for me, thanks to Lau and his team, to be able to engage with everybody. I'm going to try a Twitter-style summarization, right? That's the energy level anybody has today and the time. First of all, on the platform, Lau, you realized, as I was telling you, they're all Malaysian brands and Malaysian SMEs, and all have somehow succeeded through these difficult times. We spoke to Renier 6 months ago, and he's not just surviving, but flourishing. Along came Gary and Mandy, and Professor Anthony Wong I've been connected to for quite some time now. And the reason I'm saying this is for many of the audience members, and especially to some of the students who are out there planning businesses, we are hearing from our third-year students that the move forward is not just to seek employment, but to start companies in Malaysia. This should be an inspiration, right? And there is a couple of missing points along the way also I'll highlight. Let me start with some of the points that all the speakers have spoken, right? In the case of Renier and Anthony, perhaps it's the opposite. While Mandy and Gary have looked at markets beyond Malaysia and ASEAN markets, for Renier and Anthony, it's probably a strong local market, but there's no harm in looking beyond. Building community and building community engagement is obviously very critical. And it's very interesting how your brands have been built linked to the communities. And Mandy, you brought up a very interesting point, which Gary also spoke about, and I'm sure it resonates with Renier. The issue of inventory, right? Inventory and stocks. While in the business schools, they talk about just in time and you should keep low inventories. That's certainly not the case in the context of pandemics and disruptions. It's always good to do the traditional inventory management, something which you guys offer as lessons for people who write operations management textbooks now. Right? It was also very interesting. Gary, you didn't speak about it, but I know Sabrina spoke to you about switching to local employees. That was very helpful in avoiding disruption. You know, we were speaking to Westports and other companies in Klang. Something interesting about Klang. All of them are beginning to talk about retraining local people and employing local people. It is not an anti-foreign labor. There is no such issue, but it's difficulties when borders are closed and managing these issues. So planning manpower, training human resources, and you brought up a very nice point, Gary. Working at home is actually beneficial for sometimes like people like single mothers or people who can't afford daycare. They're able to take care of children and work with a company and earn their living. So that's very interesting. Multitasking, Professor Anthony brought it up, Mandy brought it up. One of the other people we interviewed, Datu Grace Chia, who runs a retail company, was also talking about it, how moving forward, workforce has to be able to do multitasks, not very specialized. Very different from what we're taught in economics, right? So these are some key points, and that can have policy implications. Renier, you have an R&D in your own place. It's not called research and development, but it's a laboratory. Gary's critical success factor is due to R&D, investments in R&D. Mandy, the challenges you have faced for R&D, but you acknowledge it's important, right? Innovation and research. And in your case, the research is very interesting, how to compete with the big boys in terms of needing technology. So what policy implications are there for the government? How to start thinking about retail in the context of research. It should not only be for manufacturing, an interesting point you raised. There is a challenge in this, I understand, and Gary has talked about it. I believe, Renry, we spoke to you also, right? In the peak of the lockdown, the meats where they come from. How do we develop resilient supply chains and local supply chains? I believe now there's a lot of farm to table kind of efforts going on. The regions of Bentong in Malaysia and in KL now, there are three that I know of, three startups that are doing tech-based agriculture. So you get local supplies of lettuce, local supplies of greens, and so on. How can this be part of the supply chains for people like Gary? I know you need large quantities, and currently China and India can only do that. But we had a speaker, a multinational, who was talking about how they're beginning to think of what's known as China Plus, like what Gary said, starting to look at Vietnam, starting to look at the regional players. Could they offer a base for supplies for some products? There was a point that was probably missed, but I'm sure you all have alluded to this. I know Renier talking about the importance of business associations, how the Retail Association of Malaysia helps, so non-government organizations, how important they are. We checked in Singapore, the government supports these kind of associations very heavily with funding. I think Malaysia should also start looking at that. The government should consider non-government organizations, and without a doubt, organizations like Ideas, how they're bringing together these points and developing briefs for advocacy, right? So policy implications on these points. And I wanted to start with this, but I'll end with it. All of you have said how important digital platforms are, or digital technologies. Mandy, there's even a question for you later you'll have to answer. How do you look at Instagram as a way of filtering for makeup and so on? And how do you use that? So clearly digital tech is important, from makeup to selling burgers. Rendy made a very important point during our time, how he used gaming platforms also to build his brand. It's very interesting, right? Appealing to the younger segment. Gary's brand is built very interestingly in the community way and so on. So the role of technology is clearly important. Super apps are very important, but they're only facilitators. Ultimately, it's still the fundamentals: branding, inventory, local approaches to doing things, market sensitivity, right? So these are the summary points, Love, and I think I'll leave it now, and it's 11:30, so there's a good enough time. So Mandy, there's a nice question from Lady Patricia Ang. Do let us know your views on that, and hand it over to you, Love.
Oh, thanks, Dr. Mohan, for putting things in a structured manner and to make it more sensible. I think we've been collecting a lot of different inputs, and thanks for putting things in order. We have a few questions from our audience. The first one is from Patricia Ang, who is directing the question to Mandy. How do customers try out your brand's Instagram filter for makeup? So that's the question. And there's a question from Yi Yun. This is for all panelists. As someone who is working with a not-for-profit, she's wondering what your thoughts are on collaborating with local vulnerable groups or NGOs who are likely to be more affected by pandemic as SMEs. Have you guys actually worked with NGOs during this period, and do you intend to work with NGOs to help address the people who are most affected by the pandemic? So maybe Mandy can first address that question, and we'll open the second one to all the speakers. Mandy?
Yeah, so for the future, right, is it something like, like the PS5 thing? When you open the Instagram, so you just click on the stories there, then there will be so many filters that you can use, then you can just create your story. Yeah, we actually create the filters for that. So is this something very similar to the PS5 thing that you actually click on, then you can just place everywhere, and then you just take a photo, and then everyone thought that you bought PS5. Yeah, this is something similar.
Okay, maybe if you want, you can also include a link in the chat box, and we will all try to check it out later. Okay, the question on NGOs. Have you guys have you people engaged with any NGOs during this period?
Can I add on?
Okay, yeah, sure, Anthony.
Yeah. The end of September, we work with the ministry because the B40 is very much affected. They are talking about urban farming. Yeah, when we started off with Subang 2, that was the first launch of the urban farming, and we sponsored 24 people from the B40 and single mothers in Langkawi Association. So now they are already it's already 2 months and already got feedback, and we will teach them organic farming. Yeah, no have to buy anything. Everything is from waste that you collect, and everything is from nature, the pesticide and things like that, and advanced composting where you don't have to wait for 3 to 6 months. You just do 1 month, and we use a Korean system called Jadam. Jadam, I mean, Korean has been organic farming for 4,000 years, and it's very sad to know that we don't bring agriculture into our school system now. We don't even have an agriculture school, and people do not understand integrated organic farming. So there is a need to go back to farming because loss of land, and it's a very powerful thing is you can grow your own food. Although I'm a hotelier, yeah, but we have organic farm behind for 15 years. So, and we have been teaching it online, but people won't want to change till they really have got no choice. Yeah, but during this lockdown, a lot of the hardware shop, Mr. DIY, gardening tools and seeds were very popular. And I think this will help with a lot of the people who are really having a hard time. Yeah, many people are losing jobs, but there's so much land out there. And my Jadam course was all online. It's an open source. People can learn how to do it. So with digitalization, people can learn many things off the internet. In the past, I have thousands of books. You don't have to buy any book today. The knowledge is out there. So I believe many NGO want to help the community. Sometimes they do not know how, but I think it's part of us. If you're entrepreneur, money is not everything. If money, you cannot help your local community, you cannot help in general humanity. I mean, you will never stop chasing money and you will never be happy. I think as an entrepreneur, you must know, there is always a limit, So advice to all other people who are running business, have a balance. Yeah. That's my take. Thank you.
Thanks, Prof. Do you have any other speakers who would like to chip in as well? Yes,
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. So my chip in would be just I agree with what Professor Wong has said, and then we all need to do a little bit of what we can. Sometimes I've also been in that position where I get caught thinking, hey, if I can't even save my own business, who am I to help others? But we also found that in the process of helping others, that's where you open. I mean, you don't do it on purpose to get what do you call it? Good karma, if I may put it that way. But if you do it generously, good things just come your way, and that's something that was part of. It's something that we do every year. But during this crisis, we found ourselves to be in a bit of a dilemma, wondering, hey, should we reach out and do this? So we have a few projects that we try to help out here and there. One of the more notable one, which not a lot of people talk about, are actually accessible face masks. While a lot of us can buy face masks, easily and use them for a day and then chuck it away, it's like 40 cents a day. We don't think too much of it, but there are a lot of people out there who don't have that extra budget. So there was this group, I forgot what their name was already. So they make reusable face masks and they hire, I think, single mothers who are out of job to sew this face mask. So we contributed to that. We also created awareness for it. So it's a small things, right? You don't have to directly be involved, but if you enable, you create awareness. It's watching out for each other lah. I mean, as much as the government, you know, does give help here and there, but it's not going to be enough, and we got to do what we can to help out one another.
Okay, so private firms, startups, SMEs all play a role to help each other to go through this difficult times. I'll just read up some other questions here. There's a lot of interest. Mandy seems to be on your filter function. You feel free to answer that question if you want by typing the answer if you in the Q&A box. There are two questions or two comments for Professor Anthony. One is, how does the current regulatory environment support your aim to make your resort businesses more sustainable? So commenting on the regulatory environment. And there's another comment from Yi Yun, who couldn't agree more on the need to use our lands for sustainable farming. Better still, if you can engage with social groups who will be very inspired by your experience. So I think, Prof, maybe if I can just merge these two questions here, how would you rate the regulation environment? Does it give you the kind of space and convenience to branch out and do some other things, and involving local community and the people? Does it boost your aim to achieve those objectives?
Yes. In fact, my ex-environment officer, she runs Trash Hero, and she tend to bring many community or many families who want to do farming to our resort, and we give them free seed. Yeah, we teach them, you know. In fact, we've been running free organic farming course for the last 2 years here. Yeah, but we charge them 5 ringgit for our 4 hours course. Basically, you know, if you give free everything, they don't appreciate. But we give them actually drinks and finger food for that 5 ringgit. So it's actually free. Yeah. Now the thing is, the very sad. The local islander are not really interested that much in the sustainability of farming side. It is the people that come into Langkawi and live here permanently, and they have seen maybe a bigger picture, and they don't look at organic farming as a low quality job. They look at it as you know, good health. Yeah, proper. I believe education, because since the government don't look at farming as a nice brand, as you know, because when you say you're a farmer, they look down at you as, oh, you must be a real, the lowest level of the lowest is a farmer or a fisherman. So this is very sad, because if you look to go to country like Australia or Taiwan or Japan, farmer has got a very good profile, because you know it's survival. Now you talk about whether the government helping. Now, in terms of urban farming, YB Zuraida, the minister, is actually very much supporting this sustainability, and she's getting land for those who are B40 to actually plant. But you're correct. In terms of the law and regulation, it takes a long time. It's like, I can treat all my wastewater to drinking standard using constructed wetland. I've been doing this for 29 years. It was approved by the government in 2017 as an alternative cleaning. And then May 2018, new government. Gonna start all over again. Now another new government. So, you know, but EPU, Finance Ministry, understand. So they're actually giving funds to government project that's using the system. You know, I advise them. For example, I talk about edible landscape. You know, I will talk about farming. I do it in my landscape. So do you register as a hotel or as a farm? I do get, you know, I do edible landscape. I got fruit trees. I got edible walkway. You know, it's a new concept. I did it 15 years ago. So do you register yourself as a hotel or a farm? But I have specific farm behind. So the thing is, we have to educate the academia, we have to educate the government. So in fact, this Saturday, RTM is coming for a pre-run to look at our wetland, how we treat wastewater, just using nature, you know, bacteria, fungus, algae, plants, snails, yeah, different plants. So the thing is, the industry is always ahead of the government and the education system. So we need to show them, we need to collaborate so they understand. Yeah, because we are doing it, we are on the ground. Yeah, so we need to collaborate. You know, as I say, it's taken me 28 years. This year is 29 years for them to understand. Yeah, so the role is the NGO must play. I'm sitting on the board. I just stepped down from the Malaysian Green Building. That's an NGO, but they don't understand about bioengineering in wastewater. So I've been teaching engineers for the last 10, 12 years, architects. And now I'm also tying up with USM Penang, and they're building a constructed wetland for wastewater treatment based on our system. So we as NGO must help the academia to progress in society. There has to be collaboration. And not everything is money. Yeah, a lot of this NGO work is just, you know, it's for long term of our society, for our future, for our children. Yeah, thank you. I hope I answered that.
Yeah, I mean, thanks, Prof, for reinforcing the point. We mentioned that earlier in the slides. How do you have SME and industry partner, SME academia collaboration? Sometimes it's not just about business and commercial as well. There's a greater good, I think, that can come up from these partnerships. There are a few more questions for you, Prof, but I just want to give you a bit of time to rest. I'm just going to direct the next question to Gary. This question from Sabrina. Has IoT, Internet of Things, helped out your production system during the pandemic? And could you share with us how your team managed to work through the IoT installation hurdles, the first mile problem, so to speak, for Internet of Things? I'm sure high investment costs. How do you integrate your IoT with your current systems, and lack of skills on that? So Gary, did you hire young people to do this?
Well, we started 2 years plus back. So we had a small department. We call it the IoT department. So we are, you can call it engineering department, you can call it IoT department, but basically we are just learning about how we can solve our operation issue using the new technology. So that's the whole idea. So we made a lot of implementation. So as a result, during pandemic, our factory manager, he doesn't really need to go to on the floor to make sure that things are okay. Basically, all the data are either captured in Google Sheet, Airtable, or in our own software. So like that's the benefit that comes out from it. And at the same time, it's because there was a 50% reduction in worker. So we streamlined the whole process so that but of course you need to have all this IoT, otherwise your food safety is going to be compromised. So we streamlined the whole process so that we can have lesser amount of people, but the process still functions. So I think there's a very like we benefited from it a lot during the first MCO.
So Gary, in a way, I think IoT in this sense means sensor, means some production process is automated. The machines do the job instead of people. But how do you struggle with the question of
why
machines replacing people? You mentioned just now you can reduce headcounts, right? Because
I think that's not the whole idea. Like when we approach the whole IoT part, is we know that we are going to expand regional and globally, so we are heading into that direction. Then the thing is our product good enough? So that's always the question that we ask ourselves. Like, is our product good enough that when we go into a new market, that we are able to challenge the existing player or the local? So when it comes to product, then you have product design, product quality, etc. Now, IoT focus on the product process. Like, how can we make sure that our product, when we export out, which will be delayed 4 to 5 months in the container before reaching the shelf, how do we make sure that the product is good enough? And if you keep asking the question over and over again, it always points to one direction, which is the IoT. Like, without IoT, it's impossible for you to keep track of your production processes and your products and all those. You need that if you are focusing a lot on product quality. Otherwise, what's going to happen is you are going to send a container to another country and it will get rejected. That's what's going to happen if you don't do that.
So I mean, so when you first started that process, so you hire people with those kind of skills to be able
No,
to.
we hire YouTube.com.
So you pick it up from YouTube. So how would you rate some of the graduates that you've been hiring? Are they market ready, and do they have the kind of skills or potential at least to learn from YouTube so that they can help you in this process?
I just give you an example. I think Renyi knows about this. So I have an army of interns. I think 4 of them they did visit Renyi. So our interns is capable of digitalizing. So right now they are digitalizing our entire operation. So they have no idea about. They are actually from Taylor's Culinary School. They have no idea about food manufacturing. They have no idea. Never worked before. But then, if you are able to guide them, then they are able to digitalize. So what they are doing right now is we are putting all the information on the web. They are doing themselves. They are taking videos. They are doing training. So they are like the head. Because the thing is, at a senior position like me or our QA manager, like we need to be busy about a lot of things because we are in the middle of preparing our 3rd factory. So there are a lot of time that's tied down to there. So interns has proven that if you guide them properly, like anyone can do digitalization, but you need time. If you don't have time, then you have money, then you can pay for it. So either one.
Right. So I think private sector SME, there is a role I think for them to train, to skill up, to equip the graduates with skills, and everyone just have to play that role. I think in the nation's transformation process. I think.
Actually, the discussion it will go like this. So like when it comes to digitalization, right? So the whole idea is you ask some, you don't know the answer one, no one knows the answer one.
Yeah.
So it's like you ask them to do a research on certain things. Okay, how does other people solve this problem? Probably they'll go to YouTube. Then they'll find, okay, then I'll look at it. I know that, okay, this one doesn't make sense. That one doesn't make sense. Now we have 3 left. So we find out more. So it's just like pinpoint. Then after that, then someone says, hey, this guy, not bad. This is how we solve. If we use this combination plus this combination, then we have a solution. So that's YouTube.com is actually the
well,
where we learn.
Yeah, the dissemination of information these days. There are a lot of questions there. The speakers can choose to either answer it live or type the answers to it in the Q&A box. But the next question is for My Burger Lab and Quizan. Do you see this pivot to digitalization as a permanent trend? Or, once the pandemic is over, you will go back to your offline business? Mandy, will you like discard your online store when the pandemic is over? Or do you think this is it? This is the no point of no return where you just go all out online?
Yeah, this is, I think, a permanent plan that we have to keep going. I think there's no way that we can back to like before MCO. Yeah, it's just that I think offline they will bounce back when the things getting better, right? It's just if the digitalizations that we have already implemented and what we can plan ahead is that how we can actually diversify our risk and also you know just not to too focus on one channel itself is too risky to sustain business.
Okay, so diversification, the channels. Renyi, do you see this pivot as something transitory or permanent, and whether or not you plan to add more online food delivery platform to increase your sales? Because I think as this viewer asked the question, he supposed My Burger Lab only available on GrabFood. Do you plan to have more platforms?
All right. So the reason why we are not on more platforms at this point in time because we can't cope with more. We're one of the lucky few brands that just being on one platform allows us to address a significant amount of customers. But back to the original question, I do feel that it's a yes and no answer. At the end of the day, after all this, the human population, I dare say all around the world, have been conditioned to purchase things online more than ever. In the last few years, 11, 12, and all those have already done that. But MCO or COVID has basically accelerated that process. And what that means to to everyone is that, yes, the transition to digitization will continue and has to continue. But more than anything else, we also have to realize that we as humans are social creatures. We do yearn to go out. That's why you see the moment RMCO came and things relaxed, everyone just swam out, and that's how, you know, the cases went up again. But we will see a shift. So let me give a simple example. Prior to COVID, our dine-in customers is about 80% of our sales. Our delivery is 20%. I foresee that it will shift to a 60-40% down the road, where people will still want to come out, but a significant chunk will still purchase on, like do delivery and purchase online. But this is for my industry only. The reason why I say that is because food is something that once you deliver, it will not be as good as, you know, having it made fresh and eaten, you know, within the first 10 minutes of serving. So for my industry, I think there's still a balance. I'm not too sure about retail, you know, the electronics or makeup. That might be a little bit different in spending behavior. So we shall see.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I think we are almost 12. I'll just quickly ask the next few questions. For Anthony, is there a hope for future hospitality and tourism course graduates, whether or not they should venture into tourism industry, or the government should just try to get more young people to work on farming, organic farming, and agro-tech could be the way to go. Anthony?
Okay, first of all, there will be a future for tourism and hospitality. Tourism is one of the biggest industry in the world, and it employs 12% of the world. You know, it's the biggest. So, you know, we have to take this pandemic as just as a pause. Yeah, it could be a very long pause. Yeah, but the tourism and hospitality, here we need to have more the academia, the school to do more multitasking, really multitasking, that, you know, a lot of them do management, but actually very hard to manage when you're not on the ground. You know, it's too academic. So we need more people from vocational to go up first. Yeah. So the best managers are actually from the ground, you know, because if you go to Europe, if you go to even Taiwan or Japan or Australia, you know, they have very little staff to manage the whole hotel, because they do everything. But here we tend to be front office, you don't do housekeeping, you don't do maintenance, but you have to know everything, you know. So we need to change slightly the what you call the discipline, multidiscipline. You know, a hotelier does not understand about engineering or even architecture, but you need to do it, because to be more sustainable, then you do passive cooling. You know, there are many things you do. You answer about plants, you know, what they do. So the multidiscipline will make you a better hotelier. And if you have this type of skill, you'll be required all over the world, because if you can show them 200 to save money for the owner will pay you a lot of money and employ you. Okay, that is in hospitality. And in terms of tourism, there will always be, you know, when I want to go to Mongolia, I wouldn't want to book it online because I don't know who the operator. I would book a good DMC, a destination management company, a tour operator that knows where is the best place to eat, although you can go online, but language issue, yeah, and also reliability. So you still have to use a local good tour operator. Even though I'm a big tour operator, when I go to Japan, when I go to Taiwan, I still did, you know, pay a little bit more for a local operator. The last time I went to Argentina and Chile, I got we booked an operation from a UK tour operator. So there will always be job in tourism and hospitality, because everybody go on holiday. Second thing, in terms of farming and agriculture, today the cost of organic food is a lot more expensive. People realize the issue of chemicals. Most of disease today is because of the food we eat. What we have, you will notice that more people are suffering, younger, with cancer, with autoimmune system, with hormone imbalance, is because of the chemical in the food, because of glyphosate and Roundup in the food. They goes in, it kill your good bacteria in your stomach. So today, if you do organic farming, you can charge 2 to 3 times more, and people willing to pay for it. Just go to the supermarket. You look at the organic section of a good supermarket, it's growing bigger and bigger. The problem is it really certified correct? So we must look at the brand and the honesty of it. Yeah. So, and in small spaces, you can actually get good income if you do it right. You get it certified. Certification in Malaysia is free. Yeah, it takes you 2 years, but even within the peer, if you can show them what you do, they will still pay the price that you want. So I believe if you make farming sexy, that means profitable, more young people will go into it. It's just that nothing is being taught. Yeah, yeah. So this is something which more and more people want to learn. But as all my colleagues say, Mr. Google can teach you many things. You have to try it. It's a fantastic thing, Mr. Google. You can do everything, but you have to discern. You check it out, you try it out, then you know. Okay, thank you.
I mean, thanks, Prof, especially on the second point on farming. I think it's how do you create an environment so that it is in a way professionalized. Your certification, people who work in online farming you will take away the stigma. I think young people will be more acceptable if it's being more professionalized. A lot of pressure on Dr. Mohan to respond actually, because this deals with the future of education business as a whole. I think Prof. Anthony has mentioned a few things. How do you produce students which are multidisciplinary, market-ready sort of graduates? If you can learn things from YouTube and Google, then what does this mean to, to academics? But before you respond, I just want to also remind Mandy, perhaps, there's a question for you in the Q&A box. As a woman, what were the struggles that you had to face in building up your company and how did you overcome it? So if you could just maybe answer that. So Dr. Mohan, I think we discussed quite a lot already. We should now just try to close the discussion. Graduate skills is top of the list. One of the things that we mentioned. Alternative financing, I think Mandy has mentioned just now as well. It's not cost-free. It's costlier in some cases. And definitely you mentioned the point on industry and SME and research collaboration. But just to maybe zoom in on unemployment, underemployment, skills, how do we produce graduates that can help companies to build resilience in future? Maybe just on this point, Dr. Mohan, how do you assess this question? And yeah.
About the graduate employment, I'll come to the end, but I wanted to summarize also 2 more important things, right? It's very interesting. Gary, Mandy, Anthony, and Rennie, not in the same word, but all of them talked about having good relationships, a style of Asian management, right? In the case of Mandy with her bank, so she can get a better interest rate and they understand her credit risk. In the case of Gary, your relationships with suppliers that hold you well in terms of crisis. I think Rennie also has the same thing, good relationships with his employees, good relationships with community, which he built on the platforms, including customers. Even Pink and Proper talked about it. The issue of SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, if you were to keep that in the background, you're already doing it, but if you address that, I think the banks will be happy to give you low interest rates for SMEs particularly. We're doing projects on that. And we take Professor Anthony's comments very seriously in the business school. It's not about just creating specialized knowledge, but I'm not joking. Lau, you might know Matthew Abraham, one of my colleagues. We are looking at how SMEs recruit, and we tell the students that don't rush to work for an MNC only. Working for small and medium enterprises will give you a great experience. I'm sure Rennie agrees. He picks up some of the Nottingham kids also, right? And then you can move on to your own business or to the MNCs and they'll value you more. And the generalization agenda is coming through. You should have some specialized skill. And lastly, what is the skill? Gary pointed out, right? You can go to YouTube, but ultimately the selection process, so the role of the academic, and I was just telling another colleague also, is not to tell exactly what the young people to do. They know exactly where to guide the information. The role of the academic and the role of senior people like Gary is to guide them and give them some direction of what to search for on YouTube rather than go all over the place, and then to curate it, meaning when you select the knowledge of the interns. So your army of interns, Lau's army of interns, Rennie's army of kids in their kitchen, and Mandy, you should also do that. So the role of the academics now is slightly different, but I believe it's what we were doing all along anyway. We can supply interns, we can collaborate for this and select the right people for industry, and the partnership between SMEs and universities. Anthony Wong made a very important statement about standards and how they're free in Malaysia and how SMEs should go for it. And the role of universities can also to give legitimacy when you do your R&D, right? Nottingham has nutrition labs and nutrition experts. KDU has that also, and so does Sunway. You can do your testing in these labs with students. And this is what the European universities do. They work with SMEs. It's a win-win for all. And that's the way academics can go in the future, and government can facilitate these with certain benefits, right? With that, I don't want to, it's already 12:03, Lau. Back to you.
Thanks again, Dr. Mohan, for putting things together, consolidating the different points. I think before we go off, maybe just a bit of just last statement from each speaker. I'll go from the last to the first this time around. Maybe Anthony, I think you were the last speaker just now. Any final comments that you want to make about how SMEs can build its resilience, and if you want to touch on government's policy that you wish to have to see, you can also do that, Prof.
Yeah, I believe that key to everything, we need to have collaboration between the private sector, the NGO, the government. Yeah, very often the government is not in touch with reality. So they make policy not aware. I think we need to have this gap close up much more. The good university are now engaging the private sector in the NGO, yeah, but we need to close the loop together with the government. Then I believe we will have a much more effective policy making, because they're not aware, they will make a policy without understanding. That is my last word.
And this is where think tanks like Ideas come in to bridge the gap between the private sectors and the public sector stakeholder. Gary, do you have any last comments for us?
Yeah, I think like what I always say, like technology is super expensive and super costly, but learning technology is free. Yeah? So go out and learn the technology, and what kind of impact you can get out of learning something that you are not aware of is for Hexa, right? When Hexa hit the 8 million annual turnover time, I think it was a couple of years back, we had like 0 sales staff because we used digitalization. That's how powerful. Like we only had 4 person in the admin. That's it, and we are able to hit 8 million. But of course, later we add in more people because as we scale up, we can't just use that model anymore.
Okay, information is out there. Acquire them. Try to find out how do you adopt that in your organization. Mandy, do you have any thoughts on especially on the aspiring young women out there who wants to start a business? Any advice for them, if you will?
Yeah, I started my business like quite really young, like 11 years ago when I was studying as STPM. So I think determination is a key to like continue your journey if you really want to become an entrepreneur that really contribute to the society. And never give up is a key for my philosophy. Is that because like last year we have went through a very big challenge right before the COVID-19. Yeah, so we have laid off about 40 over people. So this is one of the biggest challenge in my life, but I have managed to gone through and stand up again this year. Look back, right? I think this is a good thing when I did it last year, but not this year, right? Because if after the COVID only I started to lay off my people, then maybe I cannot manage to survive until today. Yeah, so this is my advice to all of you who wanted to start your own business. Determination is the key. Yeah.
Okay, determination. Randy, do you also have to lay off anyone, and how do you feel about it? And any last words on building SME resilience?
All right. So thankfully, we didn't have to lay off anyone. Not directly anyway. There were one or two that was due to performance issue. But our goal was to never reduce salary or laid off anyone. So we managed to achieve that 99% of the during the COVID period. Anyway, one of my advice that I would give, at least for people, my peers in my industry, would be not to jump onto any trend that pops up. You know, in the last few months and in the coming few months. One trendy word that has been going around is cloud kitchens or dark kitchens or ghost kitchens. Same thing, right? There are many variations to this concept, and not all concept works. And I have taken a step back to observe, how some have built it, and for those that are going into it as tenants, some has been burnt already as it is. So my suggestion is, whatever trends that come out, you don't always have to hop onto it immediately, but keep an eye on it and then put your own spin on it. And that might be the best way to move forward, because everyone's looking for solution right now, and some solutions do look great, but it's untested. So if you're going to put all your eggs in one basket, might not be the best idea.
Okay, all right, that pretty much sums up the session for today. Thank you once again, Dr. Mohan, Prof. Anthony, Mandy, Rennie, and Gary for spending the time speaking to us this morning. And not just this morning, we have been having conversations from time to time just to understand SME challenges on the ground and to help MGOs or think tanks such as Ideas to be able to research and communicate what needs to be done with various stakeholders. Thank you once again for our audience as well for sticking with us until the end. I hope you guys found this to be very enlightening and insightful. I would just request all the speakers to stay. We just want to take a quick photograph. But for the rest of for my friends of Ideas, we'll see you in the next webinar. Goodbye.